Welcome to the Modern Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Billie Tarascio, and today I'm chatting with Jeanine Tripodi, a courtroom readiness and mindset coach. Quick confession, we forgot to record an intro because we dove right into the conversation. But here's a quick bit about Jeanine. After going through her own divorce, handled by us at Modern Law, she rebuilt her life and now helps women find lasting love and confidence in midlife. She believes midlife isn't our quiet chapter, it's our uprising. Courtroom readiness and mindset coach. 15 years in hypnotherapy and energy work, and then really started focusing on legal support and witness coaching. Is that right?
Not witness coaching per se. I actually, after my divorce, which you all handled, I think you probably know, but I didn't want to say it and have you go, what? They did?
Yeah, I recognize your name.
Okay, yeah. Well, we both had very short hair at the time. I had a faux hawk. You had very short hair.
Right. That's
It was
right.
years ago.
And you were just getting started, like with your business, right?
I have been a hypnotherapist and an energy practitioner for almost 15 years. So I've always worked with women in some sort of transition of their lives. After the divorce, I started focusing on helping women. And particularly the last 4 years, I've been working on working with women to help them find lasting love in midlife, which is lovely and it's empowering. And I'm 53. I believe that midlife is it's not our quiet chapter. I always say it's our rising, right? But a lot of women were coming to me saying, I'm not even ready for that yet. I need to get through the actual process of divorce. And so people were coming to me and asking me how to apply some of the things that I was teaching their friends, which really is not about dating. I don't help people with their profile. I help them regulate themselves to understand why they react and respond the way they do in relationships based on, I'm an attachment theory specialist. I am a subconscious reprogramming specialist. And so using the same tools that I will use to help a woman understand, why do I keep repeating the same patterns and picking the same men and reliving the same relationship? You can only do that by understanding yourself more deeply and what your belief systems are and how they affect your decisions. We're all processing subconsciously. So in a nutshell, I now have 2 offerings, and this courtroom offering is really, really well received. I'm hearing so much from lawyers and individuals say that, hey, my lawyer can prepare me for the understanding what happens in court, what I should say, courtroom preparedness and how it flows and how to respond and not give away information. But what they're missing is the emotional component of self-regulation. And so then you dive into that aspect, and there can be 2 parts. A lot of times people think, and stop me if I'm just going off too much here, but people think that they can recite mantras, so to speak, change, when the reality is, if your body is in a fight or flight state, if your body is reacting to nervous system deregulation in the moment, it's really hard to think your way out. It's really hard to think your way out of a panic attack. So my objective is to work with people, men and women, obviously not from the same couple, to prepare them for court so that they have the tools that they need in the moment to remind themselves to stay calm and steady. But deeper than that, the subconscious or hypnotherapy targeted sessions actually help to reprogram and rewire that fear response by understanding really what those triggers and activators are. So we're not going to solve 30 years of trauma in 5 sessions, but we're going to dull the blade so that they can have a clear voice and speak clearly or not break down or spiral.
I completely believe in that. For me, it was EMDR.
Yes.
That changed the way I could show up. And that's essentially what we're talking about, is like being able to show up the way you want to show up and not be triggered. And it's almost impossible to not be triggered by an ex getting out of a marriage, because of course you have experienced trauma.
Right.
So I know you didn't call it witness coaching, but we would call that witness coaching. You are helping people show up prepared to present the way they need to present to tell their story.
Yes.
So can you talk about the science of hypnotherapy and how that works?
Yeah, I love hypnotherapy. So I think what makes me unique is that I have the hypnotherapy background and also the energetic work, which I don't really talk about a lot with law firms, particularly because we're talking about facts and science-based backing. But if there isn't the sort of broad approach to understanding that our subconscious mind tracks everything and creates the belief systems that we live by today, I mean, we are literally living in the past every day because we're living based on the lens through which we've learned previously. And a lot of these lenses are developed 18 to 20 months old, where we learn our first attachment styles and how people will love us and treat us and how we connect and attach to other people, which comes up a lot in relationships, of course. And so understanding that, which I will jump back into, but also understanding that there is this component of energetics that we bring to the table, that when our energy is up and we are positive, right? Higher vibration emotions, we are more able to be grounded and in control of our emotional regulation. And when we spiral mentally, we spiral energetically, and it all works together. So giving people a multitude of tools for nervous system regulation, energetic regulation. But the beautiful part, which I'm now answering your question, is the access to the subconscious mind, which is so fascinating. So many people do not even understand that your subconscious mind is its number one job is to keep you safe. If you've ever driven home and not realized you got off on the exit that you got off of, that's your subconscious mind being aware of your surroundings and keeping you safe. And a hypnosis state or hypnotic state, which I try not to use the word trance because it freaks people out, is really just a deep state of relaxation where your conscious mind is preoccupied with the hypnotherapist's visualizations that they're giving you. And your subconscious mind gets to like loosen the reins and start to listen to suggestions and ideas that you really truly want. You know, you'd never be able to hypnotize someone to give you their social security number or cut you a check, right? The client is always in control, complete control. Your subconscious mind would wake you out of this state of relaxation if it was something that conflicted with your morals. So really, it's just sort of like a massage for your conscious mind so that we can really start talking to the subconscious. And that's where you can really understand what are the stories that are floating around in there. Why do you have this response and reaction? Is it because you feel that you have no voice, therefore you have no voice when you're in a high stakes situation? What are you making the situations mean? And from that point, we can understand the wounds and belief systems around the situation in the current moment and reframe that and rewire it moving forward. So different than therapy, where a therapist would dive into the past, perhaps childhood traumas, and help process those pieces, the hypnotist or hypnotherapist is going to work with today and how those experiences impacted your view or perspective and how we can shift that today and moving forward.
Got it. Okay. And so when you're doing hypnotherapy with people, how many sessions do you usually do?
So if it were standard hypnotherapy, depending on what people would come to me for, it would typically be 3 to 5 sessions. For something like this, for my courtroom readiness or emotional preparedness for court or mediation, it's 5 sessions. Because during those 5 sessions, we're trying to understand the most active activators or triggers, as people would say, and how we can work and shift on those in the moment. So again, not trying to like decompress 30 years of belief systems in 5 weeks, but understanding what our objective is. This person can't walk in the courtroom or can't see their ex without panicking, crying, losing their voice, spiraling, their mind goes blank. Those are the things that we're going to rewire.
Yeah, because when someone shows up in court with hatred towards their ex, we can all see it on the witness stand.
Yes.
And it diminishes your credibility because then the judge and the lawyers, they're just thinking about how out of control you are, how obvious it is that you hate your co-parent. Right. And it makes it difficult for the judge to even give you the best possible ruling. So you do 5 sessions of this hypnotherapy, and then what other training is there?
So it's a hypnotherapy and coaching.
Okay.
Combined. So it really is customized for the client. The first session would be, let's talk about the situation. Let's talk about your your difficulties in the moment and what your objectives are. And then we'll figure out how much of the hypnotherapy part would be, how much of the coaching, and a combination of both. And with coaching, there's, conversational tools, somatic tools to get you relaxed in the moment. During the hypnotherapy session, I nearly always set an anchor, and an anchor in a hypnotherapy session is giving someone some sort of physical movement so that they can be brought back into that state of relaxation. So it's a really good in the moment tool to use to remind themselves to reclaim that calm. And that is the main objective for the 5 weeks, to find ways that you can utilize tangible tools in the moment to reset your calm so that your mind can clear. It's like you're not wanting to, I think we mentioned, trying to talk yourself out of a panic attack. You're going to bring your body back to it. Your body keeps the score. I'm sure you've heard of that book, The Body Keeps the Score. All of our emotions. Yeah, all of our emotions.
I haven't read it, so explain what that means.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful book. Essentially, our emotions remain in our physical body. So I try to explain it. I'm sure there's a better way of explaining it, but I'll try to explain it this way. When we have emotions, our mind, body, and soul work together. So if we have an emotion of elation, happiness, joy, we're going to have those happy chemicals come out of our brain's going to trigger those. And if we have feelings of sadness or depression, we're going to have drops in serotonin. So there's a chemical response to our emotional state and our energetic state. And those chemicals are in our system, in our body. And the emotions really stay there as well. So if we're not processing, if we're stuffing emotions and holding them, you can guarantee they will show up in your system.
Okay, so what are the most kind of common things that you see with people who are coming to see you? What is it that they need to work through or they want to work through with you?
Yeah, so typically, interestingly, the first sort of, oftentimes I'll say, the initial conversation is, I'm very angry, it's unfair, and it's a very victimized position. Either that or feeling very, very threatened. And so there's a lot of regulation that we like to do around that. And one, reframing what all of this means right now in the moment. Like, I'm a huge proponent of therapy, I refer a lot of my clients to therapy. In this moment, in this process, getting ready for the situation, we want to be able to reframe their perspective that a divorce, despite the pain and conflict, it can be a positive next step in some ways. Now, I'm going to obviously choose my words. You can say something like, it's going to be okay, it's going to be positive, and then that person stopped listening. But we can choose to create a path that works best for everyone, especially if there's children involved. And that typically is, most of my clients, if not all, have had children involved. And so that is a really beautiful entry point to remind the person that I'm working with that the objective is to get through this in a way that is fair for everyone. Primarily, the children are going to, be able to pass through this as easily as possible. And that sort of reframing takes it out of the personal attack so much. And yes, we need to get through this and we need to be calm in order to do so. And, as you said, it's very difficult for judges to see through emotional chaos. That really does derail legal strategy.
Right. And the other thing that I have seen is when people are a victim in their divorce, their post-divorce life is not pretty.
Yeah.
They don't move on. They don't seize the opportunity that's in front of them because you have to make a choice. Am I going to build the life I want or am I going to stay sad about the life I lost? Like those are kind of the two options.
Yes, 100%. Absolutely. And even though I was just saying, even though it's so difficult in the moment, and this is definitely an emotionally charged time, being able to see a spark of that hope of it's something different,
Right. Yeah. And
acceptance.
Yeah. So, all right. So what are the biggest mistakes that you're seeing people make?
Not emotionally preparing.
Okay.
You can have the best legal team. And if you go in and panic or react in an aggressive or overly emotional way, you really do lose your credibility, as you said. So I think underestimating the importance of an emotional preparation and mindset preparation and trusting your lawyer. I say often, do you trust your lawyer? That clients, particularly going through, I was going to say, even if you were not the person who chose the divorce, but actually it's either sides can get this real desire to control so much.
Of course.
And I'm sure yes, it's scary. It's, it's activating on all levels, but trying to control all aspects of emails going out. What are you saying? What are the lawyers saying to each other? And there's a level, I think, where you need to be able to trust that you've chosen the law firm and lawyer that is going to serve you and let them do their job and and refocus on yourself. I mean, like
Sure.
anything in life, you have to refocus on how you're presenting.
But the stakes are so high, and the anxiety is so high. I don't know anybody. I don't know a single person, myself included, when I went through a divorce who could really truly let it go.
I mean, I believe I called, you were my lawyer. I called the person running my case at 11 o'clock at night. I just thought I'd get your voicemail message. I was in it. I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is difficult.
So we're just going for the best possible, understanding that nobody can expect themselves to be their very best version and perfectly zen and over it and mentally healed on the day you're going to trial. Because, leading up to trial, you're going over all your evidence.
Yes.
You're thinking about your testimony. You're reliving the worst moments of your marriage.
Yes.
I don't know how one can really, truly be okay, be grounded, be their best version.
Well, yeah. And if I did allude to being the best version, I would recant that because
you didn't.
It's the best we can do in that moment.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And to be gentle with yourself too. And to course correct. A lot of times people don't think once they start going down the path that they can't course correct. They've ruined it. It's over. We're human. We course correct. We take a breath. We calm down in the moment and we try again. Ultimately, we're human. If you are not emotionally charged, then your marriage was probably over a long time before, right?
Right. And you shouldn't be going to trial. That should be settled.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. So when did you start partnering with lawyers, and tell me what that's been like for you?
Yes. Partnering with lawyers is very recent, actually. I think I mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if that was pre-talk to this conversation, but after my divorce, I've been divorced 6 years now, 6.5 years now. And I had a 20-year marriage. And I took my time getting back into even the idea of ever wanting to date again, quite frankly. And then decided that, I wanted to have a partner and make sure that I could choose differently this time. And so began to employ the tools that I now teach other women. So I began really reconfiguring my practice towards divorce about 4 years ago, and was helping women understand themselves so that they could approach the idea of midlife love differently. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of fear behind being divorced in midlife, the gray divorces. I'm going to be alone. My children are older. They're growing up. How do I navigate this life change? And it's the perfect time to reevaluate what you want and need in life and why you've gotten what you've gotten throughout the life, right? We make our choices and decisions based on what we believe we are. And so that has been my focus for the last 4 years. And just this year, I decided to add this service, working with and partnering with law firms, because it is so needed. And I've been asked by several people, well, how do I even get to this place? I need to get through the moment. And so this was born. And I love it. Yeah, I realized that I could have been more emotionally prepared for my situation.
Okay, so let's talk about attachment styles for a minute. If people are listening and they're hearing you talk about attachment styles and they're seeing things online about attachment styles and they want to figure out what is their attachment style, how would we know?
Yeah. So interestingly, not to pitch it, but I do have a course on this, but there are 4 main attachment styles, and you can find a lot of information online to understand. If you could literally simply Google what are the 4 basic attachment styles and how do they relate? And you can fairly quickly identify where you lean based on how you react and respond and what you need in relationships. So I'll give you an example. This is one of my favorite conversations, because you develop your attachment style between 18 months old and 2 years, right? Definitely by 4 to 6 years. You have identified, based on your experiences, how love is, how relationships are, how you can expect to be treated based on how you were treated and received support. And then we grow, and through other experiences in our life, we can develop new attachment styles. We can be multiple attachment styles. We can have different attachment styles with different relationships. So when I was a child, I was always taught, I had a very supportive family, and I was always taught by my parents to question authority. Now, if they're listening to this, they're going to be a little confused, but they would say question authority, accept your parents, accept teachers, accept the court, accept police, accept all of the, authority figures. So I had a lot of mixed messages. So growing up, I was able to be very securely attached with my peers. But when it came to teachers, I was very insecurely attached. I really needed the approval. I really needed to be heard, told that I was doing a good job. I needed to perform. And so when I chose my partner, I was married to for 20 years, I entered that relationship very securely attached. We were peers, and through our marriage, leaned on these coping mechanisms of the insecurely attached individual and became pretty codependent to his behaviors and really tried to manage the situation in our relationship to the point where it was just became a pretty unhealthy relationship. So long answer. There's plenty of information online. I'd be happy to talk with anybody about attachment styles. It is a fascinating subject. There are lots of ways we could jump into that. But essentially, it tells you how you relate to individuals and why.
Got it. Okay. So the 4, what are the 4?
Yeah. So they're securely attached, which is what we all strive to be. And a lot of us can be, oftentimes in some relationships. There's securely attached, anxiously attached, dismissive attachment, and fearful avoidant. And so in high level, securely attached is someone who is very happy being independent, very happy with someone else who is able to be independent, but they can also do things together, right? This is very high level, the insecurely attached individual is needing that affirmation from other people, is looking and tends to modulate their behavior to try to help others manage their emotions. Then there's the dismissive avoidant who tends to move away from situations where they feel like they're becoming drawn into or overly, there's too many expectations. So their response would be to have distance, step back, allow the other person to, the dismissive avoidant would be one who would say, you have an issue, you can handle it. I know you can handle it. That's great. Whereas the insecurely attached would be like, live this moment with me, right? That's an exaggeration. It's a personal exaggeration. And then the fearful avoidant is one that is a combination. So the fearful avoidance parents were often absent. There could be potential abuse where they just didn't know what was coming next. The dismissive avoidant grew up in an environment where it was sort of expected that they could handle things. High level again. Insecurely attached to someone who would really need to feel that connection.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, so if people are going through a divorce and they know that they're going to have to go to trial, or they're headed to mediation and they are interested in meeting with you and getting some help, how do they find you?
Yeah, JanineTripodi.com/law or simply Jeanine Tripodi. I'm on Instagram as Jeanine Tripodi and Facebook as Jeanine B. Tripodi. People can reach me on email at hello@Jeanine Tripodi.
Awesome. And so I know you do individual sessions and you mentioned a course. What are all the different services that you offer?
Sure. So on the legal area, it's individual coaching, preparation. I will be offering group support to those who've gone through the program if there's a demand for that. This kind of continuous support. One of the other parts I didn't mention, the one-on-one sessions that I do with people also include Voxer support. So Voxer is an app where there's voice and text communication. So for that 5 weeks, I am available to them if they have a moment, an issue, something they need to process, something they've thought about. So there is continuous support for those 5 weeks. And on the relationship coaching side, I have a library of courses to understand attachment style, to understand how to find lasting love in midlife. And really, it's all about understanding yourself better. Yeah. And to do individual and group coaching there.
Jeanine, thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing all of this information. It's fabulous. And it's great to see you doing so well here in midlife post-divorce.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This has been great.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Modern Arizona podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, make sure to download it, like it, leave a review, and share it with your friends. If you know someone who would be a good guest or you would like to be on the Modern Arizona podcast, make sure to give us an email or reach out to us at mymodernlaw.com.